In this video, I'm going to show you how to level up your invitation and card design in that Art Deco style, similar to what you might have seen in the 1920s. So if you've been searching for how to make that Great Gatsby-esque looking style for your invitations, your cards, your save the dates, whatever it is, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it in this video. And we're going to do it super fast and super easy with Kittl. So if you don't have Kittl yet, go ahead and sign up using the link down in the description, and then you can follow along step by step with this tutorial. All right, to get started, we're going to go over here to the Elements panel, and we are going to scroll down until we see this Art Deco section. So now we can hit Show All, and what we're going to do first is look for these elements that we can make a background pattern on, these geometric shapes right here. And I think this one right here would be a good one. So you see when I click it in, boom, it's already kind of a pattern that's ready to go. We're just going to size it up to be the full width of this card design, and then we're going to duplicate by hitting the Alt or Option key and dragging. And we want to make sure that they overlap correctly. We don't want any little weird gaps or anything like that. And this is that common style you would have seen in the 1920s. So now what we're going to do is group it. You can hit Command G or Control G, and we're going to call this pattern. So now those are all together. And so let's change our background color. We're going to go for a really dark blue, kind of like a dark night sky blue, since we're celebrating bringing in the new year here. And then for the pattern, we're going to go with a lighter blue that's kind of faded. It just sinks into the background, and that's how we want the pattern to appear, just subtly in the background like that. So now what we want to do is go and create a border. So we're going to add this simple shape here, just the box. I'm going to make it the entire size of the card, and then let's add some border weight. And then after we feel comfortable with the border weight, let's turn off the fill and then go and choose kind of an offish gold color, this kind of creamish gold color that's kind of muted. And it works really, really well with the blues that we're using there in the background of the card. So now, once we feel like we have the weight where we want it for the border, we can start working on the rest of the card. So let's go back to the Art Deco section, click Show All, and let's find a nice frame that's going to work. This one's going to work well, I think. So let's size this up. Let's put it here in the center. We want to make sure that it's perfectly in the center. And then we want it to overlap a little bit with this border. So if I zoom in right here, you can see that there's this little overlap. And if I change the color to that same kind of offish gold, boom, that looks like it's really nicely playing. So let's make sure we label that and then lock it, because we don't want it to move anywhere. We'll do the same thing for the frame as well. Let's lock our pattern as well. So now what we want to do is go over to the shapes. Let's make sure that the pattern is not showing through where we want all of the text. So we're going to fill in this entire frame here with a block, and so you'll see kind of what I'm doing here. Let's make it that same color, and then we'll turn it behind, we'll put it behind the frame. So now let's add a little triangle, because we need to make sure these little parts at the top and bottom are also filled in. So we can stretch that triangle, make sure that it's there behind the frame, and then we'll loop this all together and make it the fill. So we'll lock that as well, because we don't want it to be messed up if we start dragging our mouse over it. Hey, real quick, if you're getting value out of this invitation tutorial, let me know by hitting the thumbs up button and that red subscribe button. Then let me know down in the comments, are you an Art Deco fan? Is that your style? Or is it just the style that you're trying to achieve for a specific project, a specific card, or anything like that? I'd love to know. So let me know down in the comments, and then let's get back to the tutorial. So now I'm going to show you a neat little trick by using text. So if we add some text here, what we're going to do is we're going to search for a font that has, you know, a rounded period, and the reason is we're going to fill in these gaps in the frame, these little outer gaps, the spaces in between the frame. So that one looks a little bit too square, so let's search for a different font that's going to have a more rounded period. This one I think is going to work. So that looks like a really, really nice rounded period. And so now what we're going to do is move this down here. I'm going to fill in these little gaps just to give it some more emphasis on the design style, and all I have to do is type them in and increase the letter spacing a little bit, and you can easily create your own kind of cool frame by just using little elements like this. So now we're going to do the same thing on the left and right. You can see by just adding more periods to make sure that the space is filled in. Now we can loop that all together and just call them You know, we can call them the dotted pattern or the dotted lines like that. And now we have a really cool frame. So if I hit W, I can see the rest of my artboard size. And so now we have 3 fonts that are in that kind of Art Deco style. I'm going to use the Broadwall font right here for this. I'm going to bring it forward, make sure that it's on top of everything, because I don't want it to fade into the background by accident or something. So now we're going to do Celebrate, because again, we're doing this kind of New Year's card design. And then we're going to make that the same color as that off gold. And what's really cool about this is you can change the weight. So if I want it to be that same kind of weight, that same thickness as the frame, I can get it really close. So if I zoom in here, you can see what I mean. This frame on the right and the text here can be about the same width. So now what we want to do is duplicate it, and we're going to make this say Let's, and then we'll size that down. But then what's really cool again is that you can make sure it's the same weight, even though that you've sized it down. I can bring the weight back up so that it matches Celebrate. So that's a really neat feature about some of the variable fonts in Kittl, and these Art Deco fonts are like that, just like this. So once we feel like Let's is in a good place, now we can start adding some other elements in that Art Deco category. And what's really cool is that if you don't find the right one, you can use some of the simpler shapes, the simpler patterns, and you can kind of create your own. And even if you don't like that, since they're geometric shapes, you can still kind of create your own Art Deco style shapes, which I'm going to show you kind of a neat little trick here later. But I think this is going to be cool for framing some text down here at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is duplicate it like this and use the little turn tool there at the bottom to flip it the opposite way. You could also hit right click and flip if you want to do it that way. And so this looks like it's going to be neat for framing some text here at the bottom. Let's grab this text right here, and let's use the distort tool, because I want to give it an effect. I want to give it kind of a sharp effect. So if I take the anchor point here on the right and I bring it down, and I do the same thing on the left side where the C is and bring it down, now you can see I'm creating this really cool arced effect, the distorted arced effect. But then if I grab the anchor point here and I bring them in towards the middle, it makes it a lot sharper, which is more of that Art Deco, that 1920s style. It's not really curved, everything's much sharper, everything is much more geometric. So now that looks really cool for it to just be sharp like that, using this kind of perspective hack with the distort tool. So now what we can do is start making our own little Art Deco style elements, and I'm just going to use some simple shapes like the line here, and then I can easily create it on the other side. And then what we can do to kind of cover up any of these little bits and bobs here is to just create a diamond and give it that same fill color, and the outline is the same gold color, and I can put that on the left and right. And so that's a really easy way for you to make kind of your own Art Deco style. So you can see I'm doing the same thing up here on the left and right. I'm just creating 3 lines with the little diamonds on the left and right, and they easily go with the rest of the framing here on the card design. So now what I'm going to do is add some other text. I'm going to use the Goblin font for this, this really nice pointy serif font, and we're going to fill in this section with the new year. So we're talking about let's celebrate the new year, but for new year, let's make sure we don't have any letter spacing, and we're going to use a nice script font, also very reminiscent of that 1920s style. And then what we're going to do is put "You're cordially invited," and we're going to use the circle tool here. And now what's really nice about this is if I grab this anchor point here at the bottom, I can use it to increase or decrease the intensity of that roundness. So I think this is looking pretty good, maybe even a little bit more. So once we feel good about that curved text, let's make sure we put the address here, and that's where I'm going to use those top and bottom elements that are framing that location. And then here we're on the 31st of December is going to be the date of the party here. And again, we're making our own kind of ornate Art Deco style with just simple shapes and spot elements. And I want to make sure I put the time over here on the right. And then what we can do up here at the top is put 20 and then 23. Again, we're going to frame this little element right here. And so what I think would be cool is if we put a parallelogram and maybe put some drinks in here, right? So celebration, it's a party. we're gonna put some glasses together. So this is what we have for champagne. I think that looks really cool. And then to make it look like it's kind of cut out, we can make the border weight the same as the background blue so that it looks like it's kind of cutting out of this diamond, and I think that's looking really cool. Let's do some minor tweaking to make sure that we have things the way we want it. Let's add a couple more spot elements, which is another great category to find some filler elements. We're going to do the same thing with the bottom, the top of the, and then we're going to put it over here on top of "You Are Cordially Invited," and that makes a nice framing for the top and bottom here. So here is our completed design, and here you can see it a little bit closer up as well as mocked up on a full card design so that you can see how it would look when you send this as an invitation. So I hope you have a ton of fun with this tutorial. Now, if you want to see other tutorials using Kittl, I have these videos here on my right that I know you're going to enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any upcoming videos and features and things like that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.